Hey guys, I'm at the Chiang Mai SEO Community weekly co-working event, and a lot of people have been asking me that are coming to the conference some basic questions that are really important questions. It might be your first time leaving your country, or it might be your first time moving to Thailand or checking out Thailand. So I wanted to sit down with Kurt Phillip, who's a serial traveler and a very long time Thailand and Chiang Mai resident, to ask him some questions about where to stay, what time you should come to the conference, what time to leave, things to know about visas and stuff like that. So thanks for tuning in, and here we go. Hey, how's it going, Kurt? How's it been going over in the UK?
What's happening, man? It's going well. I mean, it's a bit of a change from Thailand, but I officially just severed all ties to Thailand as of today, including all my setup. So yeah, man, it's going good.
All
Weather's
right,
nice finally. So
good. So for those that don't know who you are, do you want to just introduce yourself, introduce your business? And also I want to know like a little bit about your background traveling. I know you haven't lived in your home country in ages. So what's your history on traveling, and how long have you lived in Thailand, or when you lived in Thailand?
yeah, sure. Yeah, my name's Kurt Phillip. I'm the CEO and founder of Convertica. And I mean, we've been business partners in a few different companies over the years. And yeah, I've lived in Thailand for pretty much all of my 20s. I'm 32 now, so pretty much all of my 20s I was in and out of Thailand, probably based out of Thailand for the second half of the 20s pretty consistently. When I say consistently, probably 6 months of the year. Obviously, I traveled a lot, so normally I would take a trip every 6 weeks from Chiang Mai, so it would be 4 to 6 weeks of work, 2 weeks of fun and party or whatever back in the 20s. So yeah, I traveled extensively through Thailand, know pretty much every corner of that country. So yeah, thanks for having me on to discuss things about that. I mean, I've gone from being a proper party boy in the mid-20s, running an affiliate company and a SEO consultancy, to now back into full agency mode. So I've done all ends of types of travel throughout Thailand, so I can give some cool tips about that.
Awesome. And that's why I wanted to have you on, because like you've been in Thailand way more than me, and you probably know way more tips and tricks. So a lot of people that are coming to Chiang Mai SEO Conference, which you're presenting at, thank you by the way, have had a
That's all
bunch of
good.
really good questions about like Thailand in general and stuff like that. So I wanted to ask you some things and get your opinions on, how to handle some of these questions and what you would do in certain situations. So the first question I have for you is, what do you think? When do you think if the Chiang Mai SEO Conference is on November 2nd or 1st and 2nd, but the pre-events start on the 29th, when would you recommend actually getting to Thailand or Chiang Mai in general?
Well, I wouldn't. I would arrive probably a day or two earlier in Bangkok, just to get bearings. You don't want to spend too long in Bangkok though, because it's not a good sort of, it doesn't give you a good idea on Thailand. I mean, you can get there and get a bit frustrated by being in Bangkok if you don't know anywhere else. I've met tons of people who have been to just Bangkok for their Thailand trip, and it doesn't really give a good reflection of Thailand whatsoever in any sense of the imagination. You could be in any capital city in Asia, but I would get a couple of days early just to get over the jet lag, get your bearings a little bit, and then head up to Chiang Mai for the lead up into the conference, just so you don't burn out too much. I think if you come, I met a couple of guys last year or the year before who came 2 weeks before and partied in the islands down south and just completely burnt out by the time they got to the conference. I would do it the other way around. I would come to the conference, meet some friends and other people that are going to be here for it, and then go traveling after that. That's how I would do it. So
Great.
yeah, I'd come up for that and then head south, because there's a ton of flights direct south. So
Yeah, speaking of airlines, what do you recommend would be some good flights to take over, at least from Europe and Asia, and then maybe I'll cover the United States?
So I just I've done direct flights to Europe many times. I come here every single year. So a couple of good routes through Europe directly to Bangkok. I just did Vienna to Bangkok a couple of weeks ago, and that was probably the best one I've done. It lands you right in the center of Europe. There's connections to everywhere else in Europe. Qatar Airlines is probably the cheapest. You have to do a short layover in Qatar, but it's super nice airport. And then they're usually on the cheaper end. Probably you should get it for 500 or 600 return from Europe for that. And they go to every single major city in Europe. So Vienna, just for if you're in Budapest or Vienna or that area, would be good to do that. And then also Finnair has a direct flight too. So if you're coming from, I know there's a lot of Denmark guys coming. There's a Finnair flight that's really good too, directly into Bangkok. Unfortunately, there's nothing directly from Europe to Chiang Mai. But if you're in Hong Kong, if you're in Singapore, if you're in KL, there's a ton of direct flights to Chiang Mai. You don't even have to really go through the list there. Pretty much all the airlines are pretty cost effective there. So from the States, I don't know, man. You'll have to go through that one. I've never actually done that before.
Yeah, sure. I'd probably recommend. Well, there's a few different options. The cheapest option, you can go with like China Eastern Airlines or like all these the cheap Chinese budget airlines, but just bear in mind that they're quite grueling of a flight process. Bad. No entertainment, really compact seats. So if you want something a little bit better, I probably recommend. I really like Korean Air, and I would say for a upper tier type airline, they're a really good budget price. So that's what I'd recommend from the States. And one more question related to Europe. What do you think you would fly if you're coming from the UK? Because I know there's a whole bunch of UK people coming.
Oh, I'd fly Thai Airways. You can fly direct from London Heathrow to Bangkok for pretty cost effective, to be honest. I mean, I was looking at flights not long ago for 20,000 baht return, so it's not bad at all. Sometimes we've paid that for return from Chiang Mai to Koh Samui, so it's really not a bad price. And also BA, but I'd rather fly Thai Airways because Thai Airways is just a bit more of a nicer experience, especially if you're coming to Thailand too. It sort of like eases you into it. And we also forgot Australia and New Zealand. So what was that airline called? Scoot Airlines from Melbourne and Sydney, I believe. They've discontinued from Brisbane last time I checked, but you can fly through Singapore directly to Chiang Mai from Singapore with Scoot Airlines. I think you have to change over to a different airline in Singapore, but really, really cheap. Like I'm talking $200 or $300 from Melbourne to Singapore, and then it's about $100 from there directly to Chiang Mai. And then you get to miss out Bangkok, which I would do if it's the first time to Thailand. I'd rather have Chiang Mai as my first reference point for Thailand.
Right. It's interesting because I live here in Chiang Mai and you've lived here a lot too. For us that live in Chiang Mai, Bangkok's kind of cool to go to. It's like you finally get a big city. You get really, really good restaurants for budget prices, 5-star hotels for super cheap. But whenever I have friends coming over and visiting, they're totally turned off by Bangkok because they already live in some kind of hubbub crazy city. They're looking for like a Thai, more like a chill, naturey, cultural experience, right? It's a really good point.
Yeah, and that's something that, I mean, we were down there a couple of weeks ago all together with a couple of other guys, and it was nice to break the Chiang Mai calm traditional routine of like why we lived there in the first place. So going to Bangkok is going to a little feel of the West, a little bit of a different experience rather than Chiang Mai, which is small and quiet. But I mean, that's why I live there, and that's why you live there. It's just it cuts out a lot of distraction. Whereas if you're living in Bangkok, it's just craziness all the time, which is what you need, though, right? You need to change it up like that. So
right.
I would try and if you can fly through Hong Kong to the from the States, or if you can fly direct, because you have to do at least one connection somewhere. You could go London, Hong Kong, Chiang Mai too. That's also another one. I know that Cathay Pacific flies directly to Chiang Mai. So, and a bunch of those airlines fly out of Hong Kong. I've had a couple of connections through there, and then you can just miss Bangkok. I reckon go to Bangkok at the end if you're going to, just so it doesn't give you that reference point, because the rest of Thailand's much, much better if you're traveling through, for sure.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay, so how about some logistical questions, like this conference at the tail end of October, beginning of November? What kind of weather can attendees expect?
I mean, so I would go to Europe or go somewhere else during the end of the rainy season, which is what
Right now.
September. Yeah, September and right now until about the start of September sort of time. So October is when the awesome season starts. It's when all the, I guess, digital nomad type people start flooding into Chiang Mai. Like the city swells. I mean, you're in the quiet period now and you can probably feel that a bit, even though Chiang Mai is growing a lot compared to a while ago. But October was always when all the coffee shop talk start and the sort of much higher drinking frequency during this time of year when you're out networking all the time is when November, December is really when it's in its full swing, but October is when it starts to really become busy because the weather gets awesome. I mean, it's what, 20, 25 degrees, probably 25 degrees all the time, blue skies every day, and never really. It's very ambient, I guess would be a good way to sum it up, right? In October. So it's very just like that perfect temperature, and never gets too hot. It might rain now and then, but yeah, it's shorts and t-shirt and flip-flops time.
Yeah,
Sure.
I agree 100%. That's the best time of the year to come, and the tourism increases because of it. Just the weather is so perfect.
And the vibe of Chiang Mai becomes awesome, right? Because it's just buzzing. Every coffee shop is just full of laptops and people partnering up on stuff. And I think this is when a lot of people move or come to Chiang Mai to visit, and they don't leave until burning season. Normally they'll stay we see it every year. The different crews come in from October until end of February, and then everyone gets out for when it gets really hot.
Yeah, agreed. Yep. Okay, more logistics. What kind of visas are needed to come to Thailand?
Well, I mean, that depends on the person, but most people don't have to worry about anything. Most people can just get a visa on arrival. If you're staying for under 3 months, so you can get, oh, no, sorry. You can get 2 months on entry. So you get a 1 month stamp, which is 28 days. And then you can extend that by another 28 days, I believe, at the immigration center, which can be a day of your life removed because it can be quite painstaking with all the bureaucracy. But I recommend extending it in Phuket or Koh Samui if you are looking to stay longer. The Koh Samui immigration center is an absolute dream compared to Chiang Mai, which is a bit old school. So yeah, that's a good point. Phuket, you're in and out in 30 minutes, as long as you have your photos, because the lady there's a bit of a Nazi when it comes to if you don't have things in line. But the Samui one's almost like they make you feel welcome. So if you're coming from India, you do have to get a visa on arrival. So it's a bit of a confusing situation because everyone gets a visa on arrival, but you actually have to get the visa on arrival from a little booth on arrival. And I think it costs 1,500 baht or something, because one of my staff members came over last year and he had to get it on arrival. You can apply for it. You can apply for it beforehand at the immigration center, which I recommend, because then you don't have to stuff around at the airport. But other than that, I mean, every country is different. Most first world countries, USA, Europe, New Zealand and Australia, you don't have to do anything at all. Unless you want to stay for 3 months and stay for the whole high season, I would recommend getting a tourist visa before you come, which gives you 2 months straight up, and then you can extend that by another month. It gives you a total of 3 months for your stay, right, without having to leave. Now, these are very important that you abide by these rules because there's heavy fines and you can actually get in quite a bit of trouble if you stay over for more than a week. Otherwise, it costs like $50 a day if you stay over it. It's quite hardcore when it comes to that.
And just to echo what you said, just to repeat, if you're just coming for the conference for like a week or 2 weeks, you don't need to really plan for a visa unless you're from India. And also some attendees from last year from Pakistan, maybe both countries need a invitation letter. So if you guys need an invitation letter, just email conference@diggitymarketing.com and we'll get you one of those. But other than that, I think it's everyone who wanted to come last year definitely was able to come, so all was easy.
All of the Asian countries, so Philippines, I know there'll be a lot of Philippines guys out there, Indonesia, and Malaysia, Singapore, the ASEAN's just like the Schengen for Europe. You can just, there's no issue at all. You won't even get like looked at the border. They'll just let you in, no issue at all. We've had a bunch of our staff come in over the years with not a single problem. So
okay, all right. So let's dispel some myths real quick. The first, big question that I always get, especially from my American friends that come visit, or do I need to get a bunch of vaccinations before I come over? So what's your say on that one?
Well, that depends how hard you're going to be partying and what type of activities you're going to be getting into. But
like malaria and stuff.
No, I know. Generally not. I mean, when I first came, I got typhoid, I think, because the water can have some stuff. But generally, the stuff that you get, like, I honestly don't know. That shows you how much I'm not worried about it. You do have to be careful with, if you're prone to getting mosquito bites, just make sure that you're putting mosquito spray on at like 4 or 5 o'clock, because the mosquitoes are crazy at sundown in Chiang Mai. And there have been quite a few people to get what's it called? I've had it. I can't even remember what it's called. Dengue. But that's very, very rare. It's not something that you really have to worry about. Just make sure that you're not, just put muzzy spray on, which is everywhere in every restaurant anyway, like those little pink bottles. So other than that, Chiang Mai is a very developed city. I mean, you sometimes get mistaken, especially when you're in the Neiman area where you live, Matt, you get mistaken for being in the West a lot, because every restaurant's Western, and it's not what a lot of people think it is in Thailand anymore. It's like coming into a first world country now. So it's really not what it used to be, say 10 years ago when I first traveled there. And when you first traveled there, it's totally changed now. So
right. And just to add on to like these other myths that we would like to dispel, like, first off, with vaccinations, I've actually never gotten any. And when I looked into it, when I first researched before coming over, they basically just said, unless you're going to somewhere like way out in the bush and you're doing like hiking way in like the mountains and stuff, like, don't worry about like malaria, Japanese encephalitis. That
do
said,
not worry about malaria. Like, do not worry about malaria, please.
Yeah. Okay, so there's that, and then also I want to talk about water. Like with most countries, like third world countries. I don't even think Thailand's a third world country, but still, you don't want to be drinking water from the water faucet. You don't want to, when you're getting ice at restaurants, it's usually it's all the time. It's fine. That's a big like
in Chiang Mai.
Yeah. So don't really worry about all that stuff.
But
you can brush your teeth.
No tap drinking, yeah.
Yeah, no tap drinking. Don't drink out of the tap. But you can brush your teeth with tap water and stuff like that.
So just to interrupt for a second, my fiance, who's a doctor, just told me, get tetanus if you haven't, and Hep B. Those are two that are pretty important if you don't have them. But most people have them already, I think. If they're up to date, yeah, have a little booster. I remember I had a booster. Most countries give it for free. I know if in the US you have an issue with your medical system, so I don't know if you guys get it for free. But with the UK and Australia and New Zealand, it's all free. I remember that.
All right, good to know. We got some free doctor advice. Here's a question. Like another question I get a lot is, what's the food like? Is it all spicy? Is it like gonna burn my mouth out? Like, what would you say the food situation's like, at least in Chiang Mai?
Chiang Mai is well known for being like this absolute mecca for food, right? I mean, and the cool thing is, even when you live there, the restaurants aren't really run like proper businesses, so they cycle all the time. You go past the same restaurant and they'll change 3 or 4 times in a year. So you have everything. Northern Thai food is generally pretty spicy, right? So generally it's quite hot. It's quite, most people wouldn't have encountered it. Khao soi and Isan food, which is very meaty with lots of chili and basic vegetable. But then when I lived there, I would eat very Western still. I very rarely ate Thai food. So there's everything. You got pizzas, you got American restaurants. Obviously you don't really want to be doing that if you go into a new country, if you go into Thailand, but you don't have to worry about getting sick. I mean, I can't even remember the last time I was sick, as long as you're not eating like cheap ass street food. I mean, I don't do that, so I don't know. Like, of course, the hygiene on those is pretty self-explanatory when you go to them, when you got a piece of meat hanging up in a window all day in the sun. So risk what you will. I do recommend though tasting the bugs. I know it's culturally not normal for people from the West, but the crickets with vinegar and salt and vinegar. Oh man, like I remember when I first got to Thailand, I was on Khao San Road. I was chowing them down by the bagful. I was absolutely loving it. Maybe that's just me by your reaction.
Your guilty pleasure. Nice.
Oh yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and just to also repeat back what Kurt's saying, it is quite a mecca for food here. A lot of people come to travel to Chiang Mai just for the food. Like Anthony Bourdain's been here. He's like really likes this lady called the Cowboy Hat Lady, which makes this pork stew that's just really off the chain.
Her business has gone nuts since he pumped that. There's always a line of people outside her on the north of the moat, right?
Yeah, she probably makes more than we do combined. Yeah, she's killing it.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah.
So, and also like if for more information and more tips on like where to eat, where to stay, and where to have coffee and stuff like that, I have another video on my YouTube channel that discusses that a little bit more in detail. But for this one, we'll stick to like logistical type, full Thailand trip type things. Next question. What are some things you have to do when you're in Thailand? Like, what would you say are the maybe tourist type things, or maybe they're just cultural must-do things in Thailand?
So I think a lot of people get pumped the same stuff, right? They go to Thailand, they go to the tourist area, and they don't really see the real Thailand, I guess, or experience real Thailand. But there will be some things which I would say that I miss now moving and, living out in the UK now compared to what I would do every day in Thailand. And that's get a massage every day. I mean, why not? It's like $5 a massage. And that's one thing that I'm missing now in the afternoons when I'm winding down, is just going and getting a foot massage and reading. I mean, it's something you don't really, like, you get used to when you're there as a little perk. I'd go and, like, when you're in Chiang Mai, get outside the city and do a bunch of tours go up to Doi Intanon, which is this temple up. It's the highest mountain in Thailand. Doi Intanon, the one that's 3 hours away. It's the highest point in Thailand. If you're I'm a motorbike rider. If you can ride a big bike and you've got a high risk tolerance, obviously a lot of people don't want to due to insurance and stuff. But for me, I just get the biggest bike I can, 1000cc, and ride to the top of the mountain, and it is awesome up there, especially first thing in the morning. So what I'll do is I'll stay up there the night before, near the bottom of it, and then go up there when it's still like foggy and misty in the morning, and it's something else. And the roads are awesome and stuff. And then like you said, Doi Suthep, which is right in Chiang Mai. It's the temple that's overlooking the city at nighttime. It actually looks like a UFO floating up in the sky. That's really cool too. And I mean, I think that's what everyone does, right, when they get to Chiang Mai is go up Doi Suthep. And if you're a cyclist, a lot of people cycle up it too, which is, if you're a hardcore cyclist, you can actually cycle up it in about 45 minutes. So.
Yeah.
And even I recommend, I'm a big cyclist, like I said, so cycling around Chiang Mai out to the, what is it, Hang Tong Tang, or I don't know how to say it, Hang Tong Tao, I think it's called. The lake is about a 30-minute cycle, so it's a nice hour round trip at sunset. I would do it every single day when I lived there. So as for cultural stuff,
how about some more like typically tourist type stuff, like just what are the most touristy things that you can think of that you would definitely recommend your friends and family to do? Like, I would definitely say go see a Muay Thai match, like type kickboxing.
Oh yeah, sure.
Super exciting, super violent. There's almost always a knockout in every single fight. What else we got? Definitely going out drinking. Like, it's a fun place to party, especially.
Yeah, I don't think we really need to push that, because that's going to be sort of a given with everyone, right? Like like it's going to be the biggest networking event for a week. So yeah, it's going to be. It's small, but it's very social, I guess, right? Like compared to, I notice it when I'm in Europe and stuff, it's much more like everyone's buzzing to be there. So everyone wants to chat and mingle and stuff like that. So yeah, the nightlife's really cool. It's small, but it's really cool. And this is the hard thing, right? Is when you live there, recommending things to do for tourists. There's a lot of tours out into a lot of hill tribes that surround Thailand too. So if you want to see some, the last of and it is changing very quickly as they get westernized, the hill tribes up there, you'll go there and they'll be wearing Adidas shirts and stuff like that now instead of the traditional dress. But it is cool to still see these hill tribes that don't speak Thai, that aren't actually part of the Thai society, that live up in the mountains and stuff. I actually did it for 2 weeks the first time I got to Chiang Mai.
Nice.
I lived up in some hill tribes up there, and that was a cool little window into a different world. But
Yeah, that's a good segue into the next question that I got, which is about nature and stuff. Like, what kind of stuff can you do outside the city? And just some things that come to mind for me is like there's really, really nice waterfalls around Chiang Mai. So there's one on the way up to Doi Sutet, but there's a really, really famous one called the Sticky Waterfalls. I don't know the Thai name for it, but it's a crazy waterfall that you can just walk up. I can't really explain it, but it's really, really nice to see.
yeah, it's limestone. I think it's made of limestone or something. Yeah, I went there for the first time at the last SEO conference, and I'd lived there 6 years, so I hadn't been there the whole time. And it's only an hour and a half out of town on a scooter if you rode out yourself. I recommend getting a scooter and doing that ride. But yeah, it's absolutely one of the coolest things you'll ever see. And you just see people climbing up it looks like mud, but it's like super sticky. You feel like a spider or a lizard or something climbing up it.
Yeah, that's rad, huh? Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. All right. Now, one question I had from someone is, would you say that Chiang Mai is a kid-friendly city? Are there stuff to do here for kids?
Now, I do know people that have brought up families there. I do know people that have moved from the States to they're doing English teaching, or they're doing some community service or something like that have brought up children there. There's a Western, like an American school there. I mean, I'm probably not the person to ask. Well, I did bring my family did come out with my little brother at the time, who was 5, and he absolutely loved it. We're riding around the scooter. Obviously he had a helmet on, and he had a lot of safety gear on and stuff. And yeah, I mean, he loved it. We didn't have any issues. I think it might be a bit culturally, it might seem a bit hard to bring kids. There's not a lot of sort of, if you've got a pram, the sidewalks are pretty hacked together and there's no ramps anywhere and stuff like that. That might be an issue if you've got a really young child. But, there's a lot of more like a hippie type people out there living out there with their kids, and they get by. So it just depends on what you're comfortable with, I guess.
Yeah, I'm probably not the right person to ask either. I haven't hatched one yet, but I'm planning to. So if that says anything, I wouldn't.
Well, all the Thais have been brought up there just fine, right? So
yeah, they're alive.
Exactly. So.
Question. So after the conference, like typically, how long do people usually stay? And when do you think would be like? Let's say for 2 examples, like. Let's say someone wants to like immerse a little bit more into the Chiang Mai digital nomad scene, like how long would they stay in Chiang Mai? And then the second question would be, let's say someone wants to explore more of Thailand, how much do you think they would need in additional to the trip? Like maybe they're going down to the islands and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's always 2 or 3 different camps that come to the conference. There's usually 3 camps that come to the conference. There's the guys that come out, they've got an agency back home, and they're still working that, not 9 to 5, but they're still working that corporate style. So they'll pop out just for the conference and go home. So in that, for those types, what I said earlier about missing Bangkok and just coming to Chiang Mai, maximizing your time there, I do that. Now there's the second group who have 2 or 3 weeks. They're usually like the guys who come out for 2 or 3 weeks, and they just want to party around Asia for 2-3 weeks, and that's usually a good time frame. I think 2-3 weeks. I'd go more on the 3 weeks. And my recommendation would be, if that's the case, I've done pretty much every single island in Thailand, and if you're 25 to 35-year-old single male, my recommendations would be to fly directly to Koh Samui from Chiang Mai. It's usually a pretty expensive flight, but these are SEOs, money's never an issue. And then go from Koh Samui go there for like 2 or 3 days. I wouldn't spend too long there, and then head to Koh Tao. Koh Tao is my favorite island in all of Thailand. So Koh Tao is good for diving and activities, and the nightlife's great, and it's just a cool little buzzing island. I'd go there for 3 days, and then I would travel. If there's a full moon party on, I'd do it to see it, but it is really overrated in my opinion. There's much better parties around other areas. It's really oversaturated with sort of like a different type of tourist, if I can say that. I don't know how to sum that up, but it's just not a great experience. But if there's one on, I would do it just to see it, but it's really messy and just, I don't know, it's not the best. So then I would pop back to Koh Samui, then I would fly from Koh Samui over to Phuket or Krabi. Actually, probably Krabi would be better, or you can even get a bus to Krabi. Spend 2 or 3 days in Riley Beach, which is also a really cool, buzzing little area, and then pop over to Phi Phi for a day or two, back to Phuket, and then usually that's about probably 2 weeks then, if that's the total. And that's sort of like, that's your best bang for your buck if you're looking to party and have fun. That's where all the tourists go. That's like the backpacker loop. So the backpacker loop's Phuket, Krabi to Koh Samui to Koh Phangan to Koh Tao, and then that's normally how all the backpackers flow. So you'll meet a lot of people, have a lot of good times, stuff like that. If you're looking for a bit more, if you're in a relationship, that's a bit of a different route, but it depends on what type of, like, what age you're at. Because I mean, me and my girlfriend still go to those places, but if you're looking for a bit more of a relaxed, I'd spend a bit more time at some of the high-end resorts on Koh Samui and Phuket, not in Patong, more in Karon Beach, Kata Beach, stuff like that in Phuket, like super high-end 5-star resorts overlooking some of the nicest beaches with nicest sunsets. So yeah, I mean, the locations I still recommend are all the same: Koh Samui, Koh Phangan, Koh Tao, and Phuket would be the ones to stick to if you've got like 2 week time frame.
I would also add on to this island list. I really like Krabi in terms of a romantic island to go to that's a little bit more chill, very, very beautiful. That's a good place to go with a couple. And if you really
that's what I was saying, Riley. That's what I was saying, Riley Beach. Yeah, and it's actually not an island. It's on the coast. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. And also, I recommend Koh Lanta if you really want to get quiet and find really just what is it like to live on almost a secluded island. That's a good place to go, Koh Lanta.
And surprisingly great internet in Koh Lanta too.
Yeah,
like I was getting like 30 down at the place I was at, which is pretty surprising, being out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and they got a good co-working place there that a lot of digital nomads head over there too. How about some shoot and fire questions? So I'll just ask a question. Just give me like a quick answer on what you think is the best place for blank. What's your favorite place to party in Thailand?
Koh Tao.
Koh Tao. Okay, I'd probably say Bangkok. Favorite cultural place in Thailand?
Probably Chiang Mai. Yeah.
I'd agree. Yeah, for sure. How about favorite secluded place, like off the beaten path?
A good one to do if you just want to like take 2 or 3 days to unload after the conference. Actually, I just thought of this now. If you go up to Chiang Rai, now Chiang Rai, in my opinion, there's nothing really going on there, but the Le Méridien in Chiang Rai is absolutely amazing, and it's only about $80 a night, but that is the ultimate deload place. So I would go there for a bit of like chill and R&R.
Nice. And there's also the White Temple up there, which is definitely a must-see in terms of cultural landmarks and stuff like that. The White Temple, look it up. For me, actually, this place isn't so secluded anymore, but I really like Pai. It's a little bit northeast of Chiang Mai. It's kind of become a little bit of a tourist spot, but it's got this little village type feel. There's a lot of just like kind of hippies there. Good food everywhere you go. It's a nice place to unwind as well.
Yeah, interesting vibe too up there, because it's probably 50% expats and 50% Thais up there. So there's a really weird sort of energy up there, right? Because it's like all the Thais speak this cool dialect of English, and it's not really like Chiang Mai where people a lot of times don't speak English that well in a lot of places. So yeah, Pai is definitely cool. More of a backpacker vibe in my opinion. It's really blown up in the last few years, but it's cool to see, and a lot of people do go up there, and it's about 2 or 3 hours on a scooter or a minibus going up there.
Yeah, easy trip. And speaking of transportation, like if you're going from Chiang Mai to the islands or Chiang Mai to Bangkok, for example, how would you recommend getting there? Would you take a bus, train, or fly?
And that's all time constraints, right? So I always just fly everywhere because time is my biggest commodity. But back when I was backpacking, doing the train up to Chiang Mai, even though there's been a few dodgy things that happen on there in terms of safety on the train, that is a really cool way to get to Chiang Mai. Coming in through the mountains on the way up is really cool. Bus, never do bus. It's just there's nothing good about a bus. But yeah, if you've got a bit of time, and you're flying into Bangkok, it's a bit of a stuff around getting to the train station, getting on the train, but there's a really cool overnight train with a really cool restaurant and bar on there, and it's a cool experience, but it takes 18 hours or something. So, versus a 50-minute flight. So.
Good, yeah. Okay, so the last question we'll finish up with, and no one asked this, but it popped in my head. It might be useful to people. Let's say people are going to be here for just a week in Chiang Mai. Outside of the flight, how much can they expect to, or how much should they bring along with them? How much do they expect to spend? What would you say?
Outside of the flight and the hotel, or including the hotel?
Yeah, so outside the flight and the hotel, if you're just going, like food and activities, like what can you blow in a week?
Well, it's pretty hard to, if you're not eating at the high-end Western restaurants and drinking at the expensive, if you're just drinking and eating at the normal places, it's really hard to spend 1,000 baht, which is $30. So let's just say your budget is 1,000 baht a day, $30 a day, a week, a couple of $100. Yeah. And that doesn't seem realistic because that's a daily budget in the UK to just get by normally. But in Thailand, that's why a lot of guys live there. It's not so much to save money, but it's more cost effective to allow you to invest in your business and stuff, right? So that's why a lot of startup guys are out there, because you can live a really high quality of life for a fraction of the price in the West. Still, I'm sure it's going to go up, but it still hasn't gone up. It's crazy in Chiang Mai how inflation hasn't really affected it yet. So for sure. Yeah, probably two. I'd say on the maximum side, let's just say $500 to taper in a few heavy nights and stuff for the week. I reckon $500 is very, very safe.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Yeah, a lot of people get shocked at how cheap food is here, and you can eat at the nicest places, and it's never going to be over maybe $10 to $12.
And there's a bunch of Chiang Mai bloggers that talk about how cheap they live there. Like that's their whole blog is livingcheapinchiangmai.com. I don't actually know if that's one, but that's the sort of topic of their blog is how cheap can I live in this country? And a lot of them live off $200 a month, including rent. It's absolutely crazy how much these guys can get by on $1 street food and $2 street food. So if you really want to, skimp it, you can still have fun for $100 for the week, I'm sure. But let's have a bit of fun too, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll just finish up with where should people stay? So basically, I'll give two recommendations. If you're just here for the conference, stay at Le Méridien. Le Méridien's an awesome hotel. It's 5-star. It's where the conference is. The breakfast buffet is amazing. So definitely recommend staying there. And if you want the discount, buy it through the conference page. So that will give you the group rate. If you're staying before and after the conference, I recommend getting an Airbnb around Nimanhamen area. So that's like the place that's where I live. That's where a lot of the digital nomads live, and that's where we might have some meetups and stuff like that. So if you want to have an extended stay, definitely stay over here on Nimanhamen, and Airbnb is your best bet for that.
Yeah, that's definitely where we'll be staying in Nimanhamen, because it's just, you just walk out, you've got the best coffee shops in the world, you've got food right there, and all the talks and meetups will all be there too. So, a lot of people, when they go to Chiang Mai, due to the sheer volume of accommodation options in the old town, stay in the old town, but it's like a fake town. It's not really what Thailand is at all. It's like almost like they've made this idea on what they want people to see Chiang Mai as, that's not actually Chiang Mai. So I highly recommend staying in the Neiman area because that's, that's the new Thai, that's the real Thai in my opinion. And then, yeah, that between the old town and Neiman's where you want to stay. Obviously the conference is in the old town, right in the heart of the old town. So if you want it for ease, yeah, the Le Méridien is where you want to do it. But is it Le Méridien? Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're staying in Neiman, of course. So.
Cool. All right, Kurt, just a big thanks for coming on, helping to answer a lot of important questions for people. Hope you're having a great rest of your day. And if you guys have any more questions, just you know where to find us on Facebook or in the YouTube comments below. Just let us know if you have any more questions, and we're happy to help. And we'll see you in Chiang Mai. Take care.
Peace.